Chapter 4771. Immediately after, Shui Zhangdong introduced the vice president and the others to Bailey Hongzhuang. That kind of cordial appearance seemed to treat Bailey Hongzhuang as one of their own. Bailey Hongzhuang also recognized one by one. Only then did Shui Zhangdong introduce her. From today onwards, Miss Bailey will be the deacon of the Alchemist Guild. Once these words were spoken, a trace of astonishment appeared in the eyes of the surrounding people. However, the vice president and the others obviously already knew about this, so they didn't feel strange. With Miss Bailey's talent, she is indeed worthy of the position of deacon. The vice president said with a smile. There were many alchemists in the hall. After hearing this news, everyone's hearts were extremely shocked. Bailey Hongzhuang's treatment is really extraordinary. She just joined the Alchemist Guild today and is already a deacon. Her future is really limitless. This is also how it should be. She is the champion of this alchemy competition. With this kind of genius, even if she doesn't become a deacon now, she will definitely become one in the future. I think the Alchemist Guild made a very smart decision. Comparisons are odious. When I saw Ouyang Jifeng before, I already felt that his talent was terrifying. I didn't expect that an even more terrifying one would appear now. Everyone sighed. Bailey Hongzhuang's performance in this alchemy competition had already become a household name in a short period of time. This limelight completely overshadowed the other genius disciples. Therefore, in this Waterchi city, there was already no one who didn't know Bailey Hongzhuang. Miss Bailey, this is your rank 8 alchemist badge and deacon's token. I have already prepared them for you. The vice president smiled faintly and handed the two things to Bailey Hongzhuang. Looking at the glittering badge and the dark token, Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled into a smile and said, I have troubled you, Vice President. It's just a small matter. No need to worry. Miss Bailey, from today onwards, you are a member of our Alchemist Guild. For this reason, we have also prepared some small gifts for you. Why don't you come with me to choose? During the alchemy competition, Shui Zhangdong had already admired Bailey Hongzhuang. Although Bailey Hongzhuang was very young, he did not treat Bailey Hongzhuang as a junior, because his alchemy skills were enough for him to treat him as an equal. Bailey Hongzhuang didn't think that the Alchemist Guild would actually prepare a gift for her, and a trace of surprise involuntarily appeared in her eyes. Guild leader Shui, you're too polite. Deacon Bai Li, you don't have to be courteous. This is also our kind intentions. Congratulations on becoming a deacon of our Alchemist Association. Our water-praying city branch is very honored to become your branch. Shui Zhangdong knew very well that with Bailey Hongzhuang's talent, she would definitely become a leader in the future. Taking advantage of this opportunity to get closer to Bailey Hongzhuang was undoubtedly an extremely smart move. Bailey Hongzhuang naturally guessed what they were thinking. She immediately cupped her hands and said, Thank you, President Shui. She also had a very good impression of Shui Zhangdong. If he needed her help in the future, she would not refuse. According to the elders, the water-praying city branch was one of the more outstanding branches of the Alchemist Guild. Presumably, there would be many treasures here. She would soon enter the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. If she could have more treasures to protect herself at this time, it would be extremely good. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang agree, the smile on Shui Zhangdong's face became even wider. Chapter 4772. Under Shui Zhangdong's guidance, Bailey Hongzhuang quickly arrived at the Alchemist Guild's treasury. Along the way, she discovered that the path to the treasury was extremely well hidden. It was almost impossible for anyone to enter without knowing the way. Even if she knew the way in, she could not enter the treasury on her own because the defenses here were extremely terrifying. Standing outside the treasure pavilion, Shui Zhangdong stopped and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang with a smile. This is the treasure pavilion. Bailey Hongzhuang can choose any 3 items here as our gift to you. Thank you. After saying her thanks, Bailey Hongzhuang entered the hidden treasures pavilion. As soon as she entered, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes lit up. There were many good things in the treasury. She had only taken one look and had already noticed many precious medicinal herbs. These medicinal herbs were treasures that could only be found in auctions outside. She never thought that she would be able to find so many different types of medicinal herbs in the treasury. However, when she thought about it carefully, she realized that the Alchemist Guild had the most medicinal herbs, so she calmed down. "Master, there are many treasures here." Xiao Hei's eyes sparkled with excitement. Every time it saw these treasures, it could not help but feel excited. "It's a pity that I can only choose 3 out of so many treasures. Won't I be dazzled by the selection?" Bailey Hongzhuang stretched out her hand and flicked Xiao Hei's head. She then said exasperatedly, "The treasures here are all very valuable. President Shui is already being very generous by allowing me to choose 3 items." Generally speaking, being able to choose one treasure was already very difficult. 3 treasures were enough to prove how much President Shui valued her. "All right, I'm just feeling a little heartache when I see so many treasures slipping away from my eyes." Xiao Hei clutched its chest and looked as if its heart was aching. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head and ignored Xiao Hei. She then swept her gaze across the shelves in front of her. Everything here was indeed a treasure, but she wanted to choose 3 that were most suitable for her current needs. After looking at many shelves, Bailey Hongzhuang's heart was moved by many treasures. However, she did not make a decision rashly. Instead, she chose with a goal in mind. In the end, Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze stopped on a pair of couple swords. "Silk Cutter Sword, Severed Passion Sword." Bailey Hongzhuang murmured the names of these 2 swords. Her eyes were filled with astonishment. These were obviously a pair of couple swords. But she did not know why they had been named. When she had first laid eyes on these swords, she had felt their sharpness. Clearly, these were 2 peerless swords. However, she had tried to pull the swords out of their scabbards, but she had not been able to remove the swords. "Master, these swords as swords." Hongzhuang recognized Bailey Hongzhuang's hands. Xiao Hei naturally had good eyesight. After seeing the situation of these 2 swords, he had already guessed the reason. Bailey Hongzhuang's Yi-S's. Following the increase in her and Bewitching's powers, the swords in their hands could no longer keep up with their cultivations. They were about to enter the immortal cloud mystery realm. According to her judgment, once a treasure appeared, a fight would be unavoidable. A suitable sword was very important to them. Most importantly, when she had laid eyes on these swords, she had a feeling that they were fated to meet. Chapter 4773. "Master, are you going to choose these 2 swords?" Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang had picked up the 2 swords, Xiao Hei could not help but ask, "If we bring these swords back and they fail to recognize us as their master, wouldn't we have taken them for nothing?" There were so many treasures here, and each of them was extremely valuable. She had to make use of them to their fullest potential. If they failed to recognize them as their master, they would be considered as trash. It would be a waste of a good opportunity. Seeing the worry in Xiao Hei's eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and said, "I understand what you are thinking. However, these 2 swords are obviously treasures. Although there is a possibility that they might fail to recognize us as their master, there is also a possibility that they might recognize us as their master. We have to look on the bright side. Even if they fail to recognize us as their master, it doesn't matter." Bailey Hongzhuang was very calm. From the moment she had chosen these 2 swords, she was already mentally prepared. Even if she did not succeed in the end, she would not regret it. Seeing that Bailey Hongzhuang had already made up her mind, Xiao Hei sighed and said, "All right then, I believe that you will succeed." "Good girl," Bailey Hongzhuang said with a smile as she patted Xiao Hei's head. After choosing the 2 swords, Bailey Hongzhuang finally chose a talisman. This talisman was able to defend against a full-powered attack from a Moonlight State cultivator. Obviously, this talisman was a protective talisman for her now. Although this talisman could only be used once, it was equivalent to another life. It was extremely useful. No one could guarantee that they would not meet with any danger after entering the Divine Cloud's secret realm. With this protective talisman, they would undoubtedly be much safer. When it came to protecting their lives, Bailey Hongzhuang had always been very willing to part with her life. Once she lost her life, she would have nothing left. After choosing the 3 treasures, Bailey Hongzhuang did not hesitate and immediately walked out of the treasury. When Shui Zhangdong saw Bailey Hongzhuang come out, his gaze immediately fell on the two sharp swords in her hands. Deacon Bailey, you've chosen this pair of couple swords? Shui Zhangdong's eyes were full of smiles. It seems that you and the second son of the D family are really close. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and did not say anything, which was equivalent to a tacit agreement. When I saw you and the second son of the D family that day, I felt that the two of you were a match made in heaven. Deacon Bailey is so outstanding, I'm sure the second son of the D family must be a dragon among men as well. Guild leader Shui, you flatter me. Shui Zhangdong smiled faintly. These two swords are indeed treasures, but it's not easy to get them to recognize you as their master. The owners of these two swords were lovers who caused a sensation in the world. However, in the end, both of them fell in a great battle and the two swords were left behind. Later on, there were cultivators who tried to get these two swords to recognize you as their master, but none of them succeeded. I don't know the details, but I hope you will succeed. Hearing Shui Zhangdong's words, Bailey Hongzhuang could not help but look at the two swords in her hands. These were also two swords with spiritual energy. Thank you very much, Guild Leader Shui. These things will be of great help to me. Deacon Bailey, you're too courteous. I hope you will be able to reap good rewards in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm this time. Shui Zhangdong only returned after Bailey Hongzhuang had walked out of the Alchemist Guild. The news of Bailey Hongzhuang becoming the deacon of the Alchemist Guild gradually spread and many cultivators were shocked. Everyone knew that Bailey Hongzhuang had really soared to the sky this time. Chapter 4774. Master, why are there so many people gathered here? Xiao He looked at the large group of cultivators gathered in front of the elixir shop in puzzlement. When they left, it wasn't so lively. What happened in such a short time? I don't know. Bailey Hongzhuang shook her head and smiled. Let's go in and take a look. As Bailey Hongzhuang approached, the crowd in front of the elixir shop turned to look at her, their eyes shining with excitement. After noticing the eager gazes of the crowd, Xiao He couldn't help but ask, Master, why do I feel like these people are looking at you like wolves who have been starving for a long time and finally saw meat? The way their eyes lit up was a little scary. Bailey Hongzhuang's lips twitched slightly. I'm not sure. Miss Bailey, I wonder if you can help me refine an 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill? The cost is not a problem. It's definitely not a problem. Yes, Miss Bailey, please help me refine one too. The price will definitely satisfy you. Help me refine it. I'll pay the highest price. Don't fight with me, I'll do it. For a moment, Bailey Hongzhuang was completely surrounded by the crowd. At the same time, she understood that these people were all here to ask her to help refine the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill. After knowing what was going on, Bailey Hongzhuang also breathed a sigh of relief. The 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill had been lost, and this pill was very useful to cultivators. It was normal for such a situation to occur. In fact, when she went to the Alchemist Guild today, she thought that the Alchemist Guild would want her pill formula. She didn't expect President Shui to not mention it. This made her feel surprised and relieved at the same time. To her, the pill formula might not be that valuable. Just like when she was in the Penglai Palace, she didn't hesitate to hand over the pill formula. However, now that she was a member of the D family, she naturally had to consider the interests of the family. It was obviously the most beneficial for the family if the pill formula didn't fall into the hands of others. In reality, it was just as Bailey Hongzhuang had thought. The Alchemist Association indeed wanted to obtain the 8 Revolutions Bodhi Pill's pill formula. However, compared to a talent like Bailey Hongzhuang, they were more willing to recruit her. Moreover, Bailey Hongzhuang had the support of the D family. Even if they used force, it would be useless. Moreover, they would offend Bailey Hongzhuang. Under such circumstances, they made the wisest decision. Bewitching immediately went to Bailey Hongzhuang and pulled her behind him. At the same time, Di Chuyuan and the others appeared as well, and they hurriedly said, "Stop squeezing." Before Bailey Hongzhuang returned, this group of people had already surrounded the entire medicinal pill shop. No matter what they said, it was useless. They were really helpless. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang had come back, she was naturally blocked by everyone at the first moment. When Bailey Hongzhuang returned to the medicinal pill shop, Di Beichen said helplessly, "These people all came to ask for the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill. No matter how much I refused, their enthusiasm didn't extinguish." Bailey Hongzhuang chuckled. She naturally understood that the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill could give everyone the possibility of breaking through again. Naturally, they racked their brains to exchange for it. Chapter 4775. Ever since the end of the alchemy competition, the Di family had become extremely lively. In a short period of time, Di Chuyuan had already approached the cultivators of several families. The other party's purpose was very simple. First, they wanted to get closer to the Di family. Second, they wanted to find a way to obtain the 8 turns Bodhi pill. As for the reward, it was naturally not bad at all. In the face of the other party's passionate pleading, Di Chuyuan was a little helpless. After all, many families had a good relationship with them. Although many families had distanced themselves from them because of the alliance between the Shao family and the Jun family, now they wanted to make up for it. Although it was a little ironic in his eyes, he could not completely refuse. After all, every family needed some help. Even if he knew that the other party was not completely sincere to him, he still had to put in some effort on the surface. Between families, there were very few true connections. More often than not, it was a combination of interests. Therefore, Di Chuyuan was extremely calm in this situation. "Sister-in-law, you have really become a delicious cake in everyone's eyes." Di Xiaofeng smiled faintly and looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. "I also want to exchange an 8 turns Bodhi pill from you. Murong Jing is my good brother. If he needs it." Di Xiaofeng scratched his head embarrassedly. If it was someone else, he would have directly refused. However, Murong Jing was his good brother. Even when everyone was not optimistic about them, Murong Jing never gave up on him. He would remember this friendship in his heart. Therefore, when Murong Jing made this request, he had no way to refuse. Therefore, he could only shamelessly ask Bailey Hongzhuang. Seeing Di Xiaofeng and Di Chuyuan's embarrassed appearance, Bailey Hongzhuang's smile gradually deepened. "Big brother, why are you so embarrassed? We are all family. This is just a matter of saying a word." Her voice fell, and Bailey Hongzhuang directly took out 2 white porcelain bottles from her arms and handed them to Di Xiaofeng. "Dage, Great Elder, these are 2 batches of 8 Revolutions Bodhi Dan that I refined. You can handle it." With her current situation, it was obviously not suitable for her to intervene in this kind of family interest matter. Most importantly, she did not have the energy to do so. The Great Elder and Di Xiaofeng were the ones who understood this situation the best, so it was best to give them the pill. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang immediately take out 2 bottles of pills, Di Xiaofeng and Di Chuyuan were slightly surprised. Then the warmth in their eyes deepened. "Sister-in-law, thank you so much." Di Xiaofeng smiled. "Big brother, you're too polite. Second madam, your pills can help us fight for a lot of benefits." Di Chuyuan also sighed as he looked at Bailey Hongzhuang. One had to know that the 8 Revolutions Bodhi elixir was hard to come by. As long as he took out the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill, he would be able to exchange it for many treasures that he couldn't normally trade for. Most importantly, he would be able to gain a favor from the other party. It was undoubtedly a very worthwhile trade. "This is what I should do. If Great Elder has any other needs, you can tell me directly. I only have these 2 bottles of pills on me now. If you need more, I can refine some more." Di Chuyuan waved his hand. "Second madam, the 2 batches of pills you gave us are enough. There's no need to trouble you to refine more." Chapter 4776. Seeing that Di Chuyuan didn't seem to be faking it, Bailey Hongzhuang nodded. "If you treat me as one of your own, then there's no need to be so formal. Just tell me if you need anything." Hongzhuang is right, there's no need to be so polite. Di Beichen also spoke. As soon as these words were spoken, the eyes of everyone present were filled with joy and joy. The Di family elders looked at Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen with satisfaction. They never thought that the second young master and second young mistress, who they finally found, would be so close. All their previous worries were for nothing. "All right, second young mistress, here are some places for you." Di Chuyuan took out some identity cards and handed them to Bailey Hongzhuang. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but be confused. Great Elder, what are you doing? This time, you've won a lot of places. Other than the places that our clan's disciples need, we've also prepared some places for the Lin clan and the other clans. This is enough for us to exchange for the benefits we need. As for the remaining places, the clan leader said that you'll be in charge. After all, without second young mistress, we wouldn't have any places this time. Bailey Hongzhuang finally understood and didn't refuse. Thank you very much. She understood that this time, they had won a lot of places. The D family had more than enough. As for the remaining places, the clan leader gave them to her to give her more opportunities to make friends with others. After the Great Elder and the others left, Bailey Hongzhuang looked at Di Xiaofeng and said, Big brother, you can give these places to Yunyan. Bailey Hongzhuang gave some places to Di Xiaofeng. According to what she knew, the Bailey family didn't get any good results in the alchemy competition. Therefore, other than the identity cards that the Bailey family already had, they didn't have any other places. Thinking about it, Bailey Yunyan also didn't have a place. In her heart, Bailey Yunyan was most likely from the same lineage as her. Therefore, she wanted to help the Bailey family. Seeing Bailey Hongzhuang directly take out 10 places and give it to him, a trace of surprise appeared in Di Xiaofeng's eyes. Sister-in-law, I wanted to ask you for a place. Di Xiaofeng was a little embarrassed. Yunyan doesn't have a place this time, but 10 places is too much. Previously, when he saw the Great Elder giving a place to Bailey Hongzhuang, he already had. He didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to think of this as well and offered to give a place to Yunyan. At this moment, Xiao's a little. This sister-in-law was really too nice. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. It's very likely that Yunyan is of the same bloodline as me, so the Bailey family also has a certain relationship with me. I think these quotas should be very useful to them. Hearing this, Di Xiaofeng nodded. You're right. All these years, the Bailey family didn't have many places to enter the Immortal Cloud's secret territory. These places are already a huge surprise to them. Since sister-in-law has already put it this way, I won't refuse. Thank you. Chapter 4777. With the Bailey family's current strength, 10 quotas were already an unbearable benefit for them. One had to know that these quotas were things that all the large families were trying to obtain. If these quotas fell into the hands of a large family, even if others were jealous, they couldn't do anything about it. However, once the news of the Bailey family having a quota spread out, it was bound to arouse the jealousy of others. When a large force made a move against an ordinary force, they would not hesitate at all. Bailey Hongzhuang wanted to help the Bailey family, but she didn't want them to attract a fatal disaster. Di Xiaofeng was also a smart person. After hearing Bailey Hongzhuang's words, he already understood. Sister-in-law, don't worry. I will definitely remind her. I will also tell her that this quota was given to them by you. This way, if sister-in-law really has the same bloodline as the Bailey family, it will also be good for you. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled and did not refuse. After finishing everything, Bailey Hongzhuang returned to the room. Wife, did the trip to the Alchemist Guild go smoothly today? A devilish smile appeared on his handsome face. Although it was a question, Di Beichen's face did not show the slightest bit of worry. It went very smoothly. Bailey Hongzhuang poured a cup of tea. Her red lips slightly opened as she took a sip. Then she continued, President Xue of the Qishui City branch was very polite to me. Not only that, he also gave me 3 gifts. As she spoke, Bailey Hongzhuang took out 2 swords. This is my gift to you. Di Beichen looked at the swords that Bailey Hongzhuang handed over and a trace of astonishment appeared in his eyes. Then it turned into a smile. Wife really knows my heart. You knew that the weapon in my hand was not good enough and immediately helped me pick out a treasure. Take a look. Are you satisfied? Bailey Hongzhuang asked with a smile. Di Beichen blinked his eyes, looking devilish and seductive. How can a gift from my wife not be satisfactory? Severed Passion Sword? Di Beichen looked at the name on the scabbard and could not help but frown. Why does this name sound a little strange? Bailey Hongzhuang shrugged and shook her head. I don't know either, but these 2 swords are clearly a couple. Not only that, I heard from Guild Master Shui that the previous owners of these two swords were a pair of lovers with deep feelings. However, they died in an accident and left these two swords behind. Her original intention was to find two handy weapons, and after seeing these two swords, she felt that they were very much to her liking. Although the name sounded a little strange, it was indeed a first-rate treasure. Silk Cutter Sword, Emotion Severing Sword, these names sound very domineering. These two swords are so sharp, and our feelings are so deep that even these two swords can't cut us apart. Good name. Di Baichen smiled as he held the sword in his hand. Hearing Di Baichen's explanation, Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze changed a little. Thinking about it, she felt that this was indeed a good name. Although I have already brought these two swords back, I haven't actually made them recognize me as their master. According to Guild Master Shui, it won't be easy to make these two swords recognize me as their master. I'm afraid that the two of us will have to put in a lot of effort. Bailey Hongzhuang looked at the swords in her hand and sighed. If we can't make them recognize me as their master, then we'll have wasted the opportunity to choose a treasure. Chapter 4778. After obtaining the two swords, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen did not hesitate and immediately went into seclusion. Before entering the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, they had to think of a way to make the two swords recognize them as their masters. Otherwise, they would have to find other suitable weapons. After the Di family knew that Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen had gone into seclusion, no one went to disturb them. At a time like this, it would be good even if they could increase their strength a little. At the same time, Mo Yunjue and the others were also cultivating in seclusion in the Chaos Ring. On the day of the pill refining competition, they had seen many outstanding geniuses and deeply realized the gap between them. Most importantly, ever since that day, Ao Lingxiao had started to cultivate crazily. Although he did not say anything, Mo Yunjue and the others understood. It must be because he saw the Ao family's team during the pill refining competition that he trained so hard. After all, his brother had taken everything from him and made him bear such a bad name. In fact, when he had arrived in the upper realm, Ao Lingxiao had wanted to know about the Ao family's situation. Di Baichen had once helped him to gather some information, which allowed him to understand more about the Ao family's current situation. However, this was not as stimulating as seeing it with his own eyes. He only hoped that his strength could increase quickly. Only then could he return to the family and take back everything that belonged to him. Under the influence of Ao Lingxiao's crazy cultivation, Mo Yunjue and the others did not relax. They all immersed themselves in higher intensity cultivation. As a result, the demonic beasts in the forest world also suffered and became their practice targets. They did not have to worry about staying in the Chaos Ring. After Bailey Hongzhuang entered the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, they would naturally enter as well. The Xiao family's patriarch was undoubtedly very depressed at this moment. He was originally very happy to wait for the Xiao family's results. With the strength of their family's alchemists, they would definitely be able to obtain a good result. Reality proved that their ranking was indeed good. However, he was not happy at all. Because in this pill refining competition, the Xiao family had undoubtedly become a joke in everyone's eyes. I never thought that something like this would happen. So was too reckless this time. Xiao Yanlong frowned. Although previously, because of Xiao Sou's matter, he was indeed dissatisfied with the Di family, he did not plan to break off relations with the Di family because of this. After all, the two families had been friends for so many years, and they had dealt with each other in all aspects. Not only that, he knew in his heart that the Di family would find a way to make up for it. However, he did not think that it would be so. He did not think that Sou clans as a family, and she even allied herself with the Jun family's family. Xiao Yanlong Sou's the family as a joke. The Xiao families become a joke families as well. And even the families was to become a joke to be them. I don't know what's wrong with the Great Elder this time. Why would he make such a decision? Xiao Clan's Wu family had. After hearing Xiao Yanlong's words, the Xiao family's elders' faces were filled with dissatisfaction. This time's matter was really unwise. The Di family's relationship with us has always been very good. This time, the D family's patriarch must think that we have betrayed him. Chapter 4779. That's right. If we hadn't broken off our relationship with the D family, we would have been able to gain a lot of benefits from this matter. Things are really troublesome now. The elders of the Shao family all sighed. This situation was simply beyond their expectations. After seeing the dissatisfaction and resentment of the elders of the Shao family, Xiao Yanlong also felt a wave of irritation in his heart. Elders, I understand what you mean. Unfortunately, things have already come to this point. I'm afraid it's impossible to make up for it. Although Xiao Yanlong still hoped to have the opportunity to make up for it, he asked himself honestly. If he and Di Yujue were in different places, he would definitely not forgive the Shao family. The only way now is for the eldest young lady to become the holy maiden as soon as possible. Otherwise, it will be really disadvantageous for our Shao family. The second elder said in a deep voice. Not only that, master, I think the eldest young lady should also restrain her temper. There are many capable young talents now. Before the eldest young lady becomes the holy maiden of the light, I think she needs to properly reflect on her mistakes this time. The third elder's gaze darkened slightly. His expression was solemn and serious. It seems that the daughter-in-law of the D family is not a simple person. She has directly surpassed Ouyang Jifeng and become the most dazzling existence among the younger generation of alchemists. I'm sure her future achievements will not be low. As soon as these words came out, everyone nodded one after another. If it was said that they did not put Bailey Hongzhuang in their eyes before, then after this pill refining competition, Bailey Hongzhuang had entered their field of vision in a completely new manner. Even they could not ignore her. Third elder, I understand what you mean. Xiao Yanlong nodded. He actually had the same thoughts. In the past, he had always held Xiao Sou in the palm of his hand. As a result, Xiao Sou did not understand many things. On the contrary, she was very arrogant and overbearing. Originally, in his opinion, Xiao Sou only needed to cultivate in peace with her identity as the holy maiden of the light. There was no need to pay too much attention to other people. However, now it seemed that it was not enough to be lacking in this aspect. He had to warn Xiao Sou. It's good that you understand, master. However, the current situation needs to be discussed at length. The third elder sighed. With the current situation, they were truly in a terrible fix. Di Yunhe and Di Hingyun were undoubtedly the busiest elders in the D family while they were waiting for their family members to arrive. This time, the clan had sent the largest number of cultivators to the immortal cloud mystic realm. As the clan's alchemists, they naturally had to do their best to refine pills for the clan's disciples so that they would have the ability to protect themselves in the immortal cloud mystic realm. Normally, there would not be many cultivators, and the medicinal pills in the clan would be sufficient. However, the number of pills this time was unprecedented, so the two of them were very busy. Although Bailey Hongzhuang was an 8th grade alchemist, they obviously wouldn't disturb Bailey Hongzhuang at this time. Even though they were very busy, they still had smiles on their faces all day. Looking at the thriving scene of their clan, they felt happy from the bottom of their hearts. Compared to the D family's high-spirited atmosphere, the Jun family's atmosphere was completely different. Ever since the end of the alchemy competition, the Jun family had been filled with complaints. Originally, they would have been able to obtain dozens of spots. However, they did not expect that there would be nothing left in the end. Therefore, they could only try their best to obtain spots from other clans. Chapter 4780. Most importantly, even though they had offered enough benefits, it was still very difficult for them to obtain a slot. This was because the opportunity to train in the immortal cloud mystery land was very important to every family. Seeing that the D family had so many slots that they could never use them all, it was very difficult for them to obtain even a single slot. One could imagine how depressed they were. The D family is too despicable. Not only did they cheat us of all our slots, they also refused to let the other families exchange their slots with us. Jun Lingshuan's eyes were filled with anger. Recently, they had been given the cold shoulder too many times. Every time, they would shamelessly ask the other families to exchange their slots, only to be doused with a bucket of cold water. According to their understanding of the situation, the D family had exchanged their remaining slots with the other families. They had originally wanted to use this method to obtain a slot from the D family in the name of the other families. Who would have thought that the D family had already stated their conditions? No matter what, they could not exchange their slots with the Jun family. Most importantly, the D family had even threatened them with the 8 revolutions Bodhi pill. If any family gave their slots to them, they would not be able to exchange for the 8 revolutions Bodhi pill from the D family. Under such circumstances, almost no family was willing to exchange their slots with them. This time, it was indeed our mistake. The D family wanted to use this opportunity to suppress us. Jun Xuanxiao's face darkened. This situation was not beyond his expectations. In fact, if they had been the winners this time, they would never have given the D family a chance to make a comeback. Winner takes all. That was how it was. Then what should we do now? Jun Lingxuan frowned. It would be a pity to miss this opportunity to enter the Immortal Cloud Mystery Land. He had wholeheartedly wanted to enter the Immortal Cloud Mystery Land this time. If he missed out on a slot, he would not be able to accept this result. Jun Zitao and the others were also nervous. They had never thought that they would not be able to enter the Immortal Cloud Mystery Land. No one was willing to give up on this opportunity. Jun Xuanxiao's gaze swept across everyone. I will think of a way. Hearing this, everyone's hearts relaxed a little. They were most worried that the Great Elder would choose to give up. If that happened, they would have no chance at all. As long as the Great Elder did not give up, there was at least a glimmer of hope. Jun Xuanxiao's thoughts were very complicated. Based on the current situation, it was really not easy to exchange for a quota from other families. The only way was to find a way to get some quotas from a few clans that they were on good terms with. On the other hand, he might be able to give the Xiao clan a try. After all, they were now in the same boat as the Xiao family. Even if he couldn't get too many quotas, at least he had to find a way to get the most important members of his family in. After the efforts of Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen, they finally succeeded in making the 2 swords recognize them as their masters. Just as Elder Shui had warned, this process was indeed not easy. Even though they had spent a lot of effort to succeed, they were obviously very satisfied with this result. With this handy weapon, our battle prowess will increase by a notch. The corners of Bailey Hongzhuang's lips curled up slightly. She could feel that the silk cutter sword was one with her heart and soul, and she could wield it with ease. Chapter 4781. On this day, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen felt that there was a commotion outside and immediately walked out of the house. After they came out, they realized that Di Xiaofeng and the rest were all gathered here. At the same time, many disciples of the Di family were also gathered here. Obviously, all the disciples who were sent by the family to participate in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm had arrived. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen's faces lit up with joy. Second brother, second sister-in-law. When the group of disciples saw Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen, their eyes lit up and their faces were filled with eagerness and joy. Second sister-in-law, thank you so much. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't have had the chance to enter the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. Second brother, second sister-in-law, it's great that you're able to return to the family. That's right. In the past, we were always at a disadvantage when competing in pill refinement. Now that we have you, we don't have this weakness anymore. Now, everyone knew that it was all thanks to Bailey Hongzhuang that they were able to obtain a slot to enter the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. When they thought about how they had complained about Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang, they felt extremely ashamed. Even more disciples were grateful to Bailey Hongzhuang from the bottom of their hearts because with their abilities, they would not have been able to enter. Even if the Di family and the Xiao family were still close, they would not have been able to enter. However, because of Bailey Hongzhuang, they had a chance. Hence, one could imagine how grateful they were. Even if they were all disciples of the Di family, their cultivation levels were different, their potential was different, and their cultivation resources were different as well. The Immortal Cloud's secret realm had undoubtedly given them a chance. If they could perform well here, they would be treated differently in the future. Feeling everyone's heartfelt gratitude, Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes also showed a trace of a smile. She never thought that she would win the recognition of the disciples of the family as well as the entry slot for the family. She was well aware of everyone's complaints. However, she also understood that this matter was indeed inseparable from her. Now, the resentment in everyone's hearts was obviously gone. Although these people had complained about her before, she had never taken it to heart. Because to the other members of the D family, she was indeed a stranger. Because their own existence affected their interests, anyone would feel resentful if they were in their shoes. After this incident, I don't think everyone will be the same as before. Don't mention it, everyone. This is what I should do. Bailey Hongzhuang smiled faintly. When the crowd saw how graceful Hongzhuang was, they secretly sighed in their hearts. They were really short-sighted before. Previously, I thought that second sister-in-law wasn't good enough for second brother. Now it seems that I'm really short-sighted. That's right. Now everyone knows that our second sister-in-law is a genius alchemist. Even Ouyang Jifeng can't compare to her. You don't know how embarrassing Xiao Sou was in the pill refining competition this time. She didn't have the demeanor of a great family at all. Instead, she seemed very petty. Everyone shook their heads. Although they had just arrived at Waterqi City not long ago, they had already understood the general situation from the others. Most importantly, when they had arrived at Waterqi City, they had clearly noticed the envious gazes of the other families. Chapter 4782. The weather was clear, and the sun was shining brightly. Today was the day that everyone would head to the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. Thus, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were already prepared to leave early in the morning. When Xiren, Shangguan Yingying, Mo Yunjue, and Ao Lingxiao were all standing beside Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang. According to their original plan, they were prepared to enter the Immortal Cloud's secret realm directly before coming out. However, they remembered that the D family had sent a huge team this time. If they were to appear rashly, everyone would discover the existence of the Chaos Ring. It just so happened that they had a lot of places in their hands this time. Bailey Hongzhuang kept 4 of the remaining 10 places, and the other 6 were auctioned off at the auction house in exchange for a lot of cultivation resources. Of course, the people from the D family were also present at the auction to prevent the people from the Jun family from winning the bid. Previously, the Jun family had set such a huge trap for them, and they were almost finished this time. In addition, they were certain that the person who tried to assassinate Di Beichen and Di Xiaofeng was related to the Jun family. Both sides were already at daggers drawn. Therefore, the D family would definitely not give the Jun family any chance. Not only that, they had already made up their minds. If the Jun family still sent people into the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, they would definitely not be polite. The other party secretly tried to assassinate their successor. It was simply too abominable. If they seized the opportunity, they would also give the Jun family a fatal blow. Di Chuyuan looked at the group of young disciples of the D family standing in front of him, and a trace of pride appeared in his eyes. Today, you will be heading to the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. Although this slot is very rare, in reality, it is not a paradise. On the contrary, you may encounter a lot of dangers when you go. Fortunately, there are more disciples in our family this time. I hope that you can unite and help each other and return safely. Di Chuyuan's gaze was deep. Every time they went to the Immortal Cloud's secret realm to train, it was inevitable that some disciples of the family would die. In the history of the Immortal Cloud's secret realm, it was not unprecedented for an entire team to be wiped out. However, if the young disciples wanted to grow, they would definitely have to go through these experiences. As elders, they could only try their best to help the disciples improve their ability to protect themselves. As for other dangers, they could not share the burden for their disciples. Great Elder, rest assured that we will return safely. Everyone said one after another. As disciples of aristocratic families, they knew from a young age that if they wanted to obtain something, they would have to pay a price. In the face of danger, they had never thought of it. At the same time, the 7th Elder and the 8th Elder distributed the elixirs that they had refined during this period of time equally to every disciple of the clan. Here are some medicinal pills that we have carefully prepared for you, including healing pills, chi recovery pills, and so on. You can take a closer look later in case you need them. The expressions of Dyunha and Qin Wenyan sank. The dangers of the immortal cloud's secret realm were unpredictable. These people before them were all good seedlings of their clans. They only hoped that they would be able to return safely. Thank you, elders. Everyone's eyes were filled with emotions. They understood that the elders of their families wanted them to be safe. However, they were similarly aware that danger and opportunity coexisted, and they only hoped to be able to turn danger into safety. Chapter 4783. After bidding farewell to the elders, Bailey Hongzhuang and the rest walked towards the gathering place. When they arrived, they found that the disciples of the various large clans had already gathered here. There were also many groups slowly approaching from afar. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze fell on the huge flying magic tool at the front. Her eyes were filled with shock. This is a flying magic tool? The size of the flying magic tool in front of her was completely beyond her imagination. On this flying magic tool, it wouldn't be a problem for hundreds of thousands of people to stand on it. If it wasn't for the fact that she was standing at this moment and could see clearly, she would only feel that she was on flat ground after stepping on this flying magic tool. Looking at Bailey Hongzhuang's shocked expression, Di Xiaofeng nodded and smiled. That's right, this is the biggest flying magic tool. We will need 3 months to go to the immortal cloud's secret realm this time. There are many rooms on this flying magic tool, and each of us will have our own room. Not only that, standing on this flying magic tool is like standing on flat ground. You won't feel like you're moving at all. After seeing such a terrifying scene, Xiren and the rest didn't know what to say. The things from the upper realm are really eye-opening. The last time I saw a flying magic tool, I was already very surprised. I didn't expect there to be such a huge flying magic tool. This is too terrifying, Xiren shrugged. If he didn't see it with his own eyes, he wouldn't believe it at all. Shangguan Yingying nodded. Indeed, how does this look like a flying magic tool? I feel that such a huge thing can't be moved at all. Mo Yunjua just silently sized up the surrounding environment, taking in everything around him. In his opinion, nothing was impossible. However, he still sighed. He didn't expect the upper realm to be so much more advanced than the lower realm. Oh right, why don't we just use the teleportation array directly? Shangguan Yingying couldn't help but ask the question in her heart. Because the immortal cloud secret realm we're going to is actually not stable in one place, but in a region. That is a small world created by a powerful being. It often floats in the air, but due to some spatial laws, it only exists in that area. It will take some time for us to find it even if we take a flying magic tool. Di Xiaofeng heard Shangguan Yingying's doubts and explained. Hearing this, everyone finally understood what was going on. So that's how it is. Shangguan Yingying suddenly understood. She stuck out her tongue and said with a smile, "It seems that I thought too simply." Di Xiaofeng smiled faintly and said, "It's normal. When I first learned about the immortal cloud's secret realm, I had the same question." Shangguan Yingying smiled brightly. She knew that Di Xiaofeng was giving her a way out. While they were talking, Bailey Yunyan and the others also quickly walked over. Earlier, when Di Xiaofeng gave her the quota, he told her that when she arrived at the gathering place, she should go with them directly to avoid any trouble. Therefore, when Bailey Yunyan came today, she did not hesitate and directly went to Di Xiaofeng's side. Seeing Bailey Yunyan, Di Xiaofeng smiled and said, "Yunyan, you're here." Chapter 4784. The other 9 children of the Bailey family who followed behind Bailey Yunyan had mixed feelings at this moment. They were a little surprised and a little panicked. When the elder gave them the quota before, they were still in disbelief. Until now, they really believed that all this was true. But from this point of view, they also increasingly believed in Di Xiaofeng's feelings for Bailey Yunyan. As a matter of fact, this immortal cloud's secret realm quota was extremely precious. Even if it was sold at an auction, it could be sold at a sky-high price. This time, Di Xiaofeng had given them a total of 10 spots. The value of this was self-evident. Lin Yi also noticed the appearance of Bailey Yunyan. In fact, she already knew that Di Xiaofeng gave the quota to Bailey Yunyan, but seeing the other party standing in front of her at this moment, she still felt a little uncomfortable. Lin Qianqian had been standing beside Lin Yi. After seeing Bailey Yunyan appear, she began to talk to divert Lin Yi's attention. "Sister, you don't have to worry about me. I understand." Lin Yi noticed that Lin Qianqian was trying to divert her attention, and she couldn't help but feel warm in her heart. Although it was impossible for the person she liked to be with her in the future, at least her family was very concerned about her. Listening to Lin Yi's words, Lin Qianqian sighed, and her gaze became softer. She found that since Lin Yi saw Bailey Yunyan last time, she locked herself in the room for a long time. When she came out later, she felt that Lin Yi had grown a lot compared to before. In the past, Lin Yi was more carefree, but now she obviously began to have her own worries and thoughts. As her sister, Lin Qianqian didn't know whether such a change was good or bad. She only hoped that Lin Yi was happy. "Although I still can't accept it now, I believe I will accept it sooner or later." Lin Yi's lips pulled out a smile, but anyone could see the reluctance in this smile. Di Xiaofeng naturally also worried about the existence of Lin Yi, so he didn't show too much enthusiasm. He understood that his actions this time really hurt Lin Yi's heart, but the other party's reaction was beyond his expectations. He didn't expect Lin Yi to accept this matter so calmly. She didn't pester him at all, which was far from his original idea. But the more it was like this, the more guilty he felt because he found that the smile on Lin Yi's face had decreased a lot during this time. He was clearly a happy person, but he suddenly stopped smiling. How could he not blame himself? At the same time, many teams were surprised when they saw Bailey Yunyan and the others. Why did so many people from the Bailey family come this time? Could it be that they want to enter the Immortal Cloud's secret realm as well? It can't be, right? The Bailey family is just an ordinary family. Their alchemist's level is not high enough. They have already betrayed him in the alchemy competition. It's impossible for them to have so many slots. But from the looks of it, it's obvious that they want to enter the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. And that Bailey Yunyan doesn't seem to have a simple relationship with Di Xiaofeng. Everyone's expression changed slightly. They didn't know that Di Xiaofeng and Bailey Yunyan had such a close relationship. Di Xiaofeng was very calm about this. Chapter 4785. Not long after, several figures appeared and attracted the attention of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. Jun Lingshuan walked at the front. From the moment he appeared, his gaze fell on Di Xiaofeng and the others. His cold and angry gaze was filled with murderous intent. The grievances he had suffered during this period made him hate the Di family to the bone. Oh, Jun Lingshuan's luck is not bad. He even has the chance to participate in the Divine Cloud's secret territory. Di Xiaofeng's lips curled into a mocking smile. The appearance of the Jun family here was not beyond his expectations. After all, the Jun family was also a big family. Although the Di family had interfered a lot in the process, they were still unable to prevent the other party from obtaining a few spots. If it were any other day, the Jun family's disciples would have come in a very large group. However, the entire Jun family only had 10 spots, which was enough to make them a laughingstock in the eyes of everyone. When Bailey Hongzhuang and the others turned to Jun Lingshuan and the others, surprise flashed in their eyes, but it was replaced by calmness. "Master, I didn't expect the Jun family to get a spot." Xiao Hei's eyes were filled with dissatisfaction. She hoped that no one from the Jun family would come. The Jun family has been around for so many years, so they naturally have their methods. It will be very difficult to prevent them from getting a single spot. Bailey Hongzhuang's eyes flashed with a thoughtful light. According to her original judgment, the Jun family could get 3 or 4 spots, which was possible. However, it would not be easy to get 10 spots. After all, these spots were very scarce. Coupled with the attraction of the 8 Revolutions Bodhi pill, any family that did not have a close relationship with the Jun family would not trade their spots with them. "Beichen, do you think they got their spots from the Xiao family?" Bailey Hongzhuang turned to look at Di Beichen. She felt that the Xiao family was the most likely. This time, the Xiao family had also obtained quite a number of quotas in the pill refining competition. Their family already had enough quotas, so it wouldn't be a problem for them to give up some quotas to the Jun family. Most importantly, The Jun family and the Xiao family were already on the same side. If the Xiao family didn't help the Jun family at this time, their alliance wouldn't be so stable. Di Beichen smiled faintly. It seems that my wife has the same thoughts as me. At the same time, on the other side, Di Xiaofeng quietly said, if the Xiao family doesn't tie themselves to the Jun family now, it's equivalent to offending us and the Jun family at the same time. They won't do such a bad deal. Actually, it's also good to have a few people from their family come. Otherwise, how can we take revenge for them plotting against us? Di Xiaofeng's eyes flashed with a trace of ruthlessness. He had always hated people plotting against him. Previously, under the ambush of the Jun family, he almost lost his life. Although he had never expressed this debt, he remembered it clearly in his heart. After entering the immortal cloud's secret realm this time, as long as there was a chance, he would settle this debt with Jun Lingxuan and the others. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. She also remembered this debt clearly. At that time, if it weren't for her good luck, they would all have died. Towards people who wanted to take her life, she would never be soft-hearted. Di Xiaofeng, do you think that no one from our Jun family can come this time? Jun Lingxuan looked at Di Xiaofeng coldly. But unfortunately, I'll have to disappoint you. Chapter 4786. With your Jun family's background, there should be at least a few dozen people coming. This time, there are only 10 people, which is already embarrassing enough. I'm not as wicked as you guys who like to be ruthless. I have to leave some opportunities for small fries, right? Di Xiaofeng's handsome face was filled with a sunny smile, but his words were full of sarcasm. Jun Lingxuan's face suddenly sank, and his eyes became gloomy and cold. If it wasn't for your Di family deliberately releasing false information, how could we be in this situation? Don't put all the blame on us, Gu Ruoyun said. Di Xiaofeng's lips curved into a mocking smile. We didn't say anything. Besides, with so many families, how could your family be the only one who fell for it? What's more, we didn't want to make a bet with you at that time. You came to us and arrogantly said that you must bet. We were just fulfilling your wish. Right? Beichen. Di Beichen raised his eyebrows. Second young Master Jun emphasized that if I don't agree, then I'm not a man. Since you insist on betting, I naturally have no reason to refuse. But now that the bet is over, your reaction doesn't seem to be manly enough. Listening to Di Beichen's words, everyone seemed to recall the situation of the bet that day. Suddenly, a smile appeared in their eyes. When they saw Di Beichen and Jun Zitao's bet, the Di family was very anxious. Now, it seemed that Di Beichen was completely confident at that time, but on the surface, he looked indignant. Just this acting alone was enough to make them admire him. Jun Zitao's face was extremely ugly. It was because of this matter that he had been blamed by the rest of the family for a long time. Now that Di Beichen suddenly mentioned it, he suddenly remembered how stupid he was that day. He was clearly sold by the other party, but he was still counting the money for the other party. It's just a win or loss. You don't need to be too proud. We'll see in the future. Jun Lingxuan knew that they had already suffered a loss in this matter. There was no benefit in continuing to talk about it, so he simply ended the topic. However, they would remember this matter in their hearts. Sooner or later, they would make the other party pay. Just as they were talking, the Xiao clan's team slowly arrived. Xiao Shou was still walking at the front of the group, and the way she was surrounded by so many people proved her position in the Xiao family. Her youthful and beautiful face was shrouded in a confident luster, as if the events of the past few days had not affected her at all. However, when her gaze landed on Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, a look of disgust and hatred flashed across her eyes. Ever since the last incident, she had been taught a harsh lesson by her father. Since she was young, she had never been reprimanded like this. Her father almost never said any harsh words to her, but this time, he did not give her any face, which made her feel very wronged. Of course, she would never reveal this point. Previously, she had lost a round to Bailey Hongzhuang, but there was still plenty of time in the future. After going to the immortal cloud's secret realm, she would think of a way to win a round. Bailey Hongzhuang glanced indifferently at Xiao Shou and did not pay much attention to her. She no longer had any interest in this defeated opponent. Very quickly, After the disciples of the various families who were going to participate in the immortal cloud's secret realm had arrived, the crowd gradually walked up to the deck of the giant flying device. Chapter 4787. Hearing this, Mo Yunjue's expression changed slightly. Don't we need to go in? According to his judgment, although this flying artifact was huge, its cultivation speed should not be slow. If they were to stand outside like this, the wind speed should be very shocking. Even if their cultivation was not weak, it would still be troublesome. Don't worry. Di Xiaofeng naturally understood what Mo Yunjue was worried about. Although the influence of the wind is very scary, this giant artifact has a protective array which weakens the power by a lot. However, it hasn't completely dissipated. Standing on top of it will also have a tempering effect and resist the influence of the wind. Who knows, we might even be able to comprehend the true essence of the wind here. I see. Mo Yunjue's deep black eyes flashed with a trace of surprise. I didn't think that there would be such a cultivation method. The many cultivation methods in the upper realm are really eye-opening. When Xiren's face was full of smiles, although we haven't entered the immortal cloud's secret realm yet, the current situation has already given us a lot of benefits. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Beichen could not help but look at each other after noticing this scene. Fortunately, Xiren and the others had come directly, otherwise, they would have missed out on some experience. The people of the lower realm are really country bumpkins. They don't even know about this. How laughable. Jun Zitao looked at Xiren and the others who had not seen the world and could not help but mock them. These people should be Bailey Hongzhuang's friends. I didn't think that you would be so generous to give the quota to these people from the lower realm. Xiao Sou's gaze was full of contempt and the corner of her lips curled into a faint sneer. However, you thought that you were giving them a chance, but you didn't think that this could very well cause them to lose their lives. This place is where genius cultivators gather. If some shrimps go there, they'll only be sending themselves to their deaths. When Xiren and the others clearly did not think that their inquiry would cause such a reaction and their faces instantly turned ugly. Most importantly, the other party's contempt and ridicule made them very unhappy. Eldest Miss Xiao, you don't have to worry about us. You're always worrying about this and that. You're such a busybody. Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze was cold. No wonder you would ally yourself with the Jun family. Your temperaments are really compatible. I'm just reminding you out of goodwill. Xiao Sou's eyes were gloomy. Don't lose your life. It'll be too late for regrets. I already said that I don't need you to remind me. Bailey Hongzhuang sneered. If you have the time, why don't you think about yourself? You have the title of the successor of the Saintess of Light, but you haven't really inherited it yet. You must be lacking something, right? Bailey Hongzhuang's clear and melodious voice was accompanied by a chuckle, but her eyes were cold. Xiao Sou liked to make trouble for her, and she was already used to it. However, now that Xiao Sou pointed the finger at their friend, they couldn't let it go. Following Bailey Hongzhuang's words, the other cultivators present could not help but voice their opinions. Bailey Hongzhuang is right. Xiao Sou has been holding this title for a long time, but she hasn't really become the Saintess of Light yet. It's indeed a little strange. I've had my suspicions for a long time. There must be some problems. The position of the Saintess of Light has been vacant for a long time. The Holy Light Assembly must be hoping that someone will take over as soon as possible. Chapter 4788. The cultivators present were all geniuses from various clans. Although they had some misgivings about the Xiao family, they did not care too much about it. After all, Xiao Sou was not the Holy Maiden of Light yet. Her status was the same as theirs. Xiao Sou did not expect Bailey Hongzhuang to suddenly bring up this issue. This was also the issue that she did not want everyone to bring up. She naturally wanted to become the Holy Maiden of Light, but there were still some problems with the purity of her light attribute. If she could have obtained the light vine previously, this problem might have been solved. However, all of this was ruined by Bailey Hongzhuang. However, Bailey Hongzhuang actually took the initiative to bring up this point. It was really hateful. Faced with everyone's suspicious gazes, Xiao Sou clenched her hands into fists. Her fingernails were deeply embedded in her palms. The hatred in her heart made her feel no pain at all. Just as Xiao So was about to speak, Di Beichen's voice rang out again. Miss Xiao, we are not familiar with each other, and we have no intention of talking to you much. I hope you can conduct yourself with dignity. Di Beichen's voice was cold. He did not expect Xiao So to be such an annoying existence. However, ever since the incident with the light vine, he felt that it was a waste of time to look at this woman. However, this woman always liked to take the initiative to find trouble with them. He was the cause of the incident, so he naturally had to express his stance. As soon as this was said, Xiao Sou's expression changed. Compared to Bailey Hongzhuang's mockery, Di Beichen's words were more serious. When the other cultivators heard Di Beichen's words, they were secretly surprised. I heard that Di Beichen originally had an engagement with Xiao So, but he gave it up for Bailey Hongzhuang. Now it seems that Di Beichen really has no feelings for Xiao So. It's hard to imagine that Xiao So would actually be rejected. He usually has a lot of suitors. Actually, I also thought that Di Beichen must be crazy. But after I saw Bailey Hongzhuang, I understood that I wouldn't agree to such a peerless beauty either. Xiao So's face turned red with anger. She looked at Di Beichen angrily. She couldn't believe that Di Beichen could be so cold. Di Beichen, you think too highly of yourself. Miss Xiao doesn't like you at all. At this moment, a figure stood beside Xiao So and stared coldly at Di Beichen. Looking at the newcomer, Di Beichen looked indifferent. And who are you? I am Nangong Yuqing. Nangong Yuqing. He has been pursuing Xiao So all these years. He is the representative of her suitors. Di Xiaofeng reminded. Di Beichen's eyes showed a trace of understanding. Let's not talk about whether she likes me or not. At the very least, she doesn't like you. Nangong Yuqing wanted to stand up at this time to teach Di Beichen a lesson and win the favor of the beauty. He didn't expect to be directly choked by this sentence. After hearing this, everyone present was dumbfounded. This really made people speechless. I am telling the truth. Di Beichen spoke again. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. I think so too. This was because Nangong Yuqing wasn't very good-looking. Chapter 4789. Nangong Yuqing naturally understood why Di Beichen said this, and his expression became extremely ugly. It had been a long time since someone had dared to mention this to his face. He didn't expect Di Beichen to not give him any face at all. His eyes burned with anger. Di Xiaofeng noticed this and felt helpless. He had forgotten to remind Di Beichen of this. Although Nangong Yuqing isn't good-looking, his strength and talent are first class. Not only that, but he also holds grudges. In the past, there were people in his family who mocked him for being ugly, but after he rose to power, he taught them a lesson. Therefore, although everyone knows this, no one dares to mention it to his face. Di Xiaofeng said. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's expression changed. Although she knew that everyone present was a genius, she didn't expect Nangong Yuqing to be a genius among geniuses. Since Di Xiaofeng had reminded her, it could be seen that this guy's strength wasn't ordinary. Nangong Yuqing was probably one of the top geniuses here. Di Beichen, I heard that you will be the successor of the Di family in the future. Nangong Yuqing narrowed his eyes. Wouldn't it be interesting if I killed you? The atmosphere suddenly became tense. Everyone's eyes fell on Di Beichen and Nangong Yuqing. It seemed that a fight between the two was unavoidable. Nangong Yuqing's strength has recently made a breakthrough. I heard that he has already broken through to the nebula realm. This guy's cultivation speed is truly abnormal. Di Beichen definitely won't be his opponent. Of course, Di Beichen would be at a disadvantage if he were to compete with Nangong Yuqing. Xiao So felt very helpless when it came to Nangong Yuqing. This guy had been chasing her for a long time, but unfortunately, his looks weren't good enough. Otherwise, with his status as the young master of the Nangong family, it wouldn't be bad. Now that Nangong Yuqing and Di Beichen were fighting because of her, she was happy to watch. Di Beichen had embarrassed her time and time again. She no longer had the affection she had in the past. It was good to teach him a lesson. Anyway, I just returned to the Di family. Even if I die, it won't affect the Di family. Di Beichen said casually, But, if you die, I think the Nangong family will be more interesting, right? Following Di Beichen's words, everyone present was stunned. There was only one thought in their minds: is Di Beichen crazy? Fuck, I didn't expect the second young master of the Di family to have such guts. He actually dares to challenge us directly? Nangong Yuqing chuckled after hearing this. What about me? Di Beichen chuckled. Don't think that you're so great just because you grew up in the Di family. I came from the lower realm. The tempering I went through isn't something that someone who grew up in an environment like yours can compare to. Nangong Yuqing's black eyes flashed with a biting cold light, and a murderous aura gradually emerged. The domineering aura of a powerhouse suddenly burst out. Di Beichen locked his eyes on Nangong Yuqing. His eyes were as sharp as knives, and just looking at them made people involuntarily feel a chill run down their spine. From the moment he became the young master of the Di family, almost everyone doubted him and looked down on him. However, he was also a proud son of heaven and had never lost to anyone. Since he was young, the tempering he endured was no less than anyone else. Chapter 4790. Although everyone knew that Di Beichen would be the head of the Di family in the future, almost none of the cultivators present put Di Beichen in their eyes. A cultivator from the lower realms simply couldn't compare with them in terms of cultivation. In their eyes, Bailey Hongzhuang was much stronger than Di Beichen. Even if Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation wasn't as good as theirs, Bailey Hongzhuang was a genius alchemist. Just from this point alone, Bailey Hongzhuang was already a powerful person. In contrast, Di Beichen had appeared in everyone's sight for a while, but he hadn't shown any performance, so everyone thought that he had an empty identity but didn't have the strength to match it. However, after seeing Di Beichen's aura, everyone's thoughts couldn't help but change. This kind of aura wasn't something that just anyone could have, at least most of the people present couldn't. The most important thing was that from Di Beichen's aura, they could feel an almost tangible killing intent. It was the kind of killing intent that only a person who had walked through a mountain of swords and a sea of blood could have. Not to mention the others, even Di Xiaofeng was shocked when he felt Di Beichen's aura at this moment. Nangong Yuqing looked at Di Beichen in surprise. He suddenly felt that he had underestimated this guy before. This kind of aura shocked him so much that he couldn't recover for a while. Xiao Sou and Jun Lingshuan's expressions were also constantly changing. At this moment, they realized that they had always overlooked Di Beichen's strength. In their eyes, Di Beichen's cultivation was completely incomparable to theirs. However, all of them overlooked one point. Di Beichen relied on his own strength to come to the upper realm, not the Di family's people who directly brought him up from the lower realm. This meant that Di Beichen was also a peak existence in the lower realms. Even if such a person's foundation was not as good as theirs, his experience must be extremely rich. Since you're so arrogant, then let me see how strong you are. Nangong Yuqing naturally wasn't someone who would be scared. Even if Di Beichen's momentum was astonishing, he wouldn't back down too much. After all, in terms of strength, he had never been afraid of anyone. As soon as his voice fell, Nangong Yuqing directly punched Di Beichen. The moment he punched out, everyone could clearly feel his strength. Nebulous second order. Seeing this, Di Beichen didn't back down. Instead, he met the attack with a punch. Bang! When the two fists collided, Di Beichen retreated a few steps, while Nangong Yuqing stood still. Seeing this scene, everyone breathed a sigh of relief. That scared me. I thought that Di Beichen's strength was really on par with Nangong Yuqing's. Fortunately, it's not as scary as it seems. Di Beichen is younger than Nangong Yuqing. He came from the lower realm, but he was able to take a punch from Nangong Yuqing. It can be seen that his talent isn't any weaker than ours. That's true, but at least he's not Nangong Yuqing's opponent right now. Although Di Beichen retreated 2 steps, he looked at Nangong Yuqing with a devilish smile. He waved his hand without a care. Obviously, he wasn't injured from the previous exchange. However, Nangong Yuqing, who was in an advantageous position, frowned. His gaze gradually became cautious and complicated, but his face was full of impatience. I'm too lazy to bother with you. Chapter 4791. When everyone saw Nangong Yuqing suddenly leave, they were all at a loss. According to their understanding, Nangong Yuqing wasn't someone who would show mercy. It seems that Di Baichen is a bit strange. Jun Lingshuan's gaze fell on Di Baichen. He clearly saw the situation between the two and knew that Di Baichen's cultivation wasn't a match for Nangong Yuqing. What was strange was that when Di Baichen made his move, he didn't sense his cultivation. Not only that, he believed that if Nangong Yuqing really had the advantage, he wouldn't give up so easily. As such, there was only one explanation. Although Di Baichen seemed to be at a disadvantage, the one who was at a disadvantage was actually Nangong Yuqing. Only in this way could everything be explained. Even though he already understood everything in his heart, Jun Lingshuan still couldn't believe that Di Baichen could do this. I also think that Nangong Yuqing's performance is a bit strange. He always likes to show off his strength in front of Xiao So, so he definitely won't give up such a good opportunity. Jun Zitao also said. Nangong Yuqing was also very depressed at this moment. When he fought with Di Baichen, although Di Baichen seemed to be at a disadvantage, he felt that Di Baichen's power was strange. That kind of power mixed with killing intent entered his body like a sharp blade, causing him to feel a burst of pain. Most importantly, he couldn't expel that kind of power in a short time. It was because of this that he chose to give up. This kid was so strange. If he continued to fight, he might be seriously injured. The people present obviously weren't stupid. After thinking about it for a while, they understood the problem. Suddenly, they looked at Di Baichen with a trace of fear. It seemed that they had all underestimated Di Baichen. He wasn't someone they could easily provoke. If Nangong Yuqing didn't dare to continue fighting, then at least most of them weren't a match for him. For a time, everyone began to ponder in their hearts. The Di family wasn't simple this time. They had Bailey Hongzhuang as their pharmacist, and Di Baichen was such a talented cultivator. They were on the verge of rising. After Nangong Yuqing left, the matter came to an end. Xiao So was clearly still angry, but she didn't know what to say in this situation. Big sister, father has already told us not to take the initiative to find trouble with Di Baichen. Xiao Sudong could not help but remind her. He was Xiao Sou's biological younger brother. Although others didn't know that Xiao So had been scolded by someone, as her biological younger brother, he knew about it. That was because he had also been reprimanded by his father, who had asked them to keep a low profile. The Xiao family and the Di family are both big families. Why should we hide from them? Xiao So said unhappily. Xiao Sudong was also somewhat helpless. Big sister, listen to father's advice. If we cause trouble again, we will be punished when we go back. Seeing this, Xiao So looked at Xiao Sudong with displeasure. In the end, she chose to give up. Sooner or later, she would find an opportunity to teach Di Baichen and Bailey Hongzhuang a lesson. The deck suddenly became quiet. After the flying artifact was activated, everyone felt a gust of wind. Under this gale, it was not an easy task to even stand firm. Chapter 4792. Almost at the same time, the cultivators on the deck swayed left and right, unable to stabilize themselves at all. Many cultivators directly fell and slid from the east side of the deck to the west. They didn't stop until they hit the edge of the deck. However, after a series of collisions, many people were already dizzy from the collisions, and many of them were even injured from the collisions. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others clearly didn't expect the movement to be so terrifying, but they were also people who had experienced hundreds of battles. They usually encountered all kinds of strange situations. Even if this was the first time they encountered such a situation, their reaction speed was very fast. They immediately attached their spirit energy to their feet and tried their best to stabilize themselves. Shangguan Ying was careless and directly fell. Just as she was about to hit somewhere, Xiren grabbed her. Ying, be careful. When Xiren grabbed the iron pole on the deck with his other hand and held Shangguan Ying tightly with his other hand. Although people wouldn't be thrown out of the flying magic tool, once they slipped, the injuries wouldn't be light. With the help of Xiren's strength, Shangguan Ying quickly stabilized herself. The spirit energy in her body surged out, and she didn't dare to relax at all. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen also stabilized themselves immediately. Feeling the terrifying airflow around them, Their hearts were filled with emotions. Xiaofeng, you didn't tell us before that the airflow would be so terrifying. Shengguan Yingying looked helplessly at Di Xiaofeng. When she heard Di Xiaofeng's indifferent expression, she thought it was a very easy thing. Now the facts told her that she thought too simply. Other than the fact that people wouldn't fly out of the deck, nothing else had changed. Seeing this, Di Xiaofeng smiled awkwardly. When I went out to train before, the airflow wasn't so terrifying. As soon as he said this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the others also understood. Thinking about it, the airflow strength that Di Xiaofeng endured before was based on his previous strength. Now, the airflow strength was obviously stronger than before. At this moment, Mo Yunjue's voice suddenly sounded. Some people say that we are country bumpkins who have never seen the world. At least we can still stand steadily, unlike some people who are like a silver spearhead. They can't even stand steadily. Bailey Hongzhuang and the others turned their eyes to Jun Zitao. Sure enough, Jun Zitao had already flown to the other side and was now trying to stand up. Hearing Mo Yunjue's mockery, Jun Zitao's face turned black. He remained silent, feeling depressed. He didn't expect that the airflow this time would be so terrifying. He didn't react in time, and the back of his body was completely out of control. Following the swaying of the flying magic artifact, he flew in all directions. At this moment, he felt as if his internal organs were about to be knocked out of place. When he heard Mo Yunjue's ridicule, he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Most importantly, the country bumpkins that he had mocked before were all standing properly. They did not fall down at all. This was awkward. Jun Lingxuan also stabilized his body for the first time, but it was too late to help Jun Zitao. Logically speaking, with Jun Zitao's strength, he shouldn't have fallen down. However, Jun Zitao didn't pay attention to the flying magic artifact just now, so he suffered a loss. Chapter 4793. Xiren looked at Mo Yunjue with a smile. Didn't we already know? The Jun family likes to flaunt their power with their mouths, but when it comes to facts, they're useless. Wasn't it the same last time? Looking at Xiren's expression that said, "It's fine as long as we know it in our hearts." Jun Zitao couldn't hold it in any longer and spat out a mouthful of blood. This guy was too mean. He was already embarrassed enough when Mo Yunjue said that. Now that when Xiren mentioned it, he lost all his face. Nangong Yuqing's gaze fell on Xiren's body, and a strong sense of surprise emerged in his heart. In fact, he didn't care about Bewitching and the others at all. The lower realm's resources couldn't be compared to the upper realms. Although the lower realm's cultivators had some ability to come to the upper realm, they still couldn't be compared to the geniuses of the aristocratic families. However, many of the cultivators present were unable to stabilize their bodies. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other cultivators from the lower realm were all able to stabilize themselves. Just this point alone couldn't be underestimated. Previously, the Jun family suffered a big loss at the hands of the Di family, so he somewhat looked down on them. However, now it seemed that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others did have some ability. If he underestimated them, it was very likely that he would fail miserably. Just like before, when he and Bewitching exchanged punches, it didn't seem to be a big deal to others, but only those who had fought with him would understand how uncomfortable it was. Thinking about it, the Jun family's disciples had the same thoughts as him. Although many of the cultivators had fallen, everyone's strength was there for all to see. Naturally, they stood up at the first moment. In a short time, everyone on the deck had stabilized their bodies. A gust of wind swept across everyone's body. Even with spirit energy protecting their bodies, everyone could still feel that the wind was as sharp as a blade, causing a burst of stinging pain when it blew across their bodies. It wasn't until this moment that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others understood what Di Xiaofeng meant by tempering. Because under the influence of this airflow, everyone's origin energy was exhausted extremely quickly. Not only that, but his physical body was also greatly affected. Once their essence energy was insufficient, they had no doubt that this energy would directly cut through their skin. The airflow here is really scary. It's not easy to stay on the deck for a long time. When Xiren frowned slightly, he could feel that his elemental energy was depleting rapidly. During this period of time, his strength had also increased by a lot, but in this short period of time, he had already consumed nearly half of the origin energy in his body. If this continued, he wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. He wasn't the only one. He noticed that the other cultivators around him didn't look too good either. Apparently, they were all in the same situation. That's right. This is indeed not an easy task. Di Xiaofeng said, although this place does have a tempering effect, most people will still enter in the end. The airflow here isn't something ordinary people can withstand. Hearing this, Xiren nodded slightly. That's more like it. If these people could all endure here, then the strength of the upper realm's disciples would be too terrifying. Chapter 4794. Conserving elemental energy was also a kind of ability for cultivators. Cultivators of the same level would compete to see who could last until the end. The situation in front of them was undoubtedly a good opportunity. Bailey Hongzhuang attached the required amount of elemental energy to the soles of her feet. Stabilizing herself was undoubtedly the most important thing now. As for the elemental energy in her body, she did not attach too much to her body. This situation was extremely beneficial for tempering her physical body. Furthermore, her physical body was already stronger than that of an average cultivator. Normally, she would not be able to find a suitable environment to temper her physical body. Now that there was one in front of her, she naturally would not miss it. Bewitching and Bailey Hongzhuang looked at each other. His thoughts were the same as Bailey Hongzhuang's. Now, he also understood the importance of tempering his physical body. Since they were going to stay here for 3 months, it was undoubtedly a good opportunity for them to cultivate. As Bailey Hongzhuang gradually reduced the amount of elemental energy in her body, the pain caused by the wind blades also increased continuously. Faintly, some bloodstains began to appear on her skin. Red flowers bloomed on her white dress. It was coquettish and desolate. Bailey Hongzhuang circulated the demon summoning scripture, while the elemental energy in her body continued to circulate. Even though the environment here was not good, the elemental energy in the airflow still existed. Through the circulation of the demon summoning scripture, she gradually absorbed and strengthened her dantian. Bailey Hongzhuang was dressed in white, and the blood-red color on her body was undoubtedly very conspicuous. Xiao Seiwu noticed this situation for the first time, and suddenly a trace of ridicule appeared in her eyes. Going to the immortal cloud's secret realm with such little power, she is completely at the bottom of the list. Xiao Sou sneered in her heart. Even though the elemental energy on the deck was depleted very quickly, she still had half of her elemental energy in her body. She was not injured at all. However, Bailey Hongzhuang was already unable to hold on so quickly. It could be seen that the amount of elemental energy in her body was very little. Jun Lingxuan and the rest also noticed this scene. With this kind of power, I'm afraid she is only at the star radiance realm. Cultivators from the lower plane are naturally not as strong as us. It is not strange for such a situation to occur, Xiao Sudong said with a smile. Previously, they had been suppressed by the Di family. Now, they had finally found a way to turn the tables. When Shengguan Ying and the others saw this situation, a trace of surprise appeared in their eyes. Logically speaking, with Bailey Hongzhuang's strength, she shouldn't be unable to hold on so quickly. Could it be that Hongzhuang is deliberately trying to confuse others? Shengguan Ying's eyes flashed as she pondered. Now that everyone was gathered here, she could tell how strong they were from the time they lasted. She was well aware of Hongzhuang's strength and believed that she must have her reasons for doing so. When Xiren glanced at Bailey Hongzhuang and noticed that there seemed to be blood seeping out of Di Beichen's clothes, he then said, I'm afraid Hongzhuang isn't trying to confuse others. She's just tempering her body. Hearing that, Shengguan Ying was struck dumb for a second. That seems to be the case. Now is indeed a good time to temper your body, Mo Yunjue also said. He also noticed this point and immediately reduced the amount of elemental energy covering his body. He began to use the power of the wind to temper his body. Seeing this, Xiren, Shengguan Ying and Ao Lingxiao looked at each other. These guys were really abnormal. The pain of tempering one's body was not something that ordinary people could endure. Since they are already like this, we can't be lazy. Xiren suddenly chuckled. Chapter 4795. After making their decision, when Xiren and the other two no longer hesitated and began to use the power of the wind to temper their bodies. As their cultivation gradually increased, they also felt the importance of a strong physical body. They had long been used to suffering. As long as they could improve, suffering a little was nothing. Moreover, the people around them were all eyeing them covetously and did not take them seriously at all. This feeling made them very unhappy. When Xiao So saw the blood on Bailey Hongzhuang's body, she was sure that Bailey Hongzhuang would leave the deck and enter the room as quickly as possible. However, she noticed that Bailey Hongzhuang's body was gradually becoming more and more bloody, but she still had no intention of leaving. She could not help but frown. I didn't expect Bailey Hongzhuang to be so stubborn. She has already suffered such serious injuries and still refuses to leave. Jun Lingxuan and the others were also sizing up Bailey Hongzhuang. They all understood that Bailey Hongzhuang's cultivation was weaker than theirs, so she would naturally be unable to hold on. One must know that even if there were no wounds on the body, the wind blades would already be very painful and unbearable. Now that Bailey Hongzhuang had so many wounds on her body, it was not easy for her to still be able to hold on. Not only that, he also noticed that Bewitching and Xiren were in the same situation. However, they did not show any signs of unbearable pain on their faces. These people from the lower realms are pretty good at enduring, Yi Futian muttered to himself. Jun Zitao frowned. He felt that leaving quickly was more in line with the situation of Bailey Hongzhuang and the others. This way, he would be able to mock the other party back. However, the other party insisted on staying here, which made him speechless. As time gradually passed, many of the cultivators on the deck had exhausted their primary energy. The strong winds swept across their bodies, bringing about intense pain. Many of them were too embarrassed to leave after seeing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others persevering. However, as more and more wounds appeared on their bodies, they grimaced in pain. Bewitching and the others are too abnormal. They can still endure such pain. I can't take it anymore. I'm going in. Are you going in? I'm going in too. After the first cultivator mentioned that he wanted to go below the deck, many cultivators left one after another. In fact, although everyone knew that standing on the deck was a form of training, most people would not continue to stay here. That was because this place was simply too torturous. 3 months later, they would enter the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. That would be the time for them to compete. Staying on the deck was nothing but torture. Most importantly, they needed time to recover from their injuries. What they wanted was to enter the Immortal Cloud mystery realm in their best condition, and not torture themselves until they were neither human nor ghost. In a short period of time, the number of people on the deck had decreased by half, making the originally empty deck even more spacious. Xiao So realized that the primary energy in her body had been depleted. The intense pain caused her to frown. She looked around and realized that Bailey Hongzhuang's body was almost completely covered in wounds. However, under such circumstances, Bailey Hongzhuang still had her eyes tightly shut. She had no intention of leaving. What a lunatic! Chapter 4796. Big sister, it's too torturous to stand here. Why don't we go down as well? Xiao Sudong could not help but ask. Many of their family's disciples had already gone up to the deck. They did not have to endure such torturous pain. Xiao So glanced at Xiao Sudong before looking at Bewitching and the others who had no intention of leaving. She said in a deep voice, "If you can't stand it, you can leave first. I want to continue staying here." She was not an alchemist and could not be compared to Bailey Hongzhuang in the alchemy competition. Now, they were competing in cultivation. If she was defeated by Bailey Hongzhuang, how could she face others? Jun Lingxuan, Jun Zitao, Nangong Yuqing and the others were still standing on the deck. They had no intention of leaving. I suddenly realized that the cultivators from the lower realm are not simple. So many people can't stand it anymore, but they can still stay here. Indeed, I feel that we have underestimated them before. They still have some ability. Bewitching's words make sense. It's not easy to go from the lower realm to the upper realm. Many of the cultivators present noticed that Bailey Hongzhuang and the others were clearly wounded, but they were still holding on and did not retreat at all. Their thoughts had already begun to change. Towards Wen Xiren and the others, they had never taken them seriously. After all, these people were only supporting characters in the Immortal Cloud's secret realm. They could not even be considered as supporting characters. They were just cannon fodder. If it was not for Bailey Hongzhuang, who had won so many spots for the D family, Wen Xiren and the others would not have had the chance to come here. However, after seeing the perseverance displayed by Xiren and the others, everyone's thoughts changed. After all, everyone admired cultivators with strong willpower. Bailey Hongzhuang closed her eyes and focused on circulating the demon summoning scripture. The intense pain on her body was not unbearable for her. In the past, she had often endured such tempering. She knew in her heart that tempering one's body must be a painful process. If he gave up just like that, he wouldn't gain anything. On the contrary, as long as she continued to persevere, the harvest would definitely be better than she expected. Xiaofeng, I can't hold on any longer, Bailey Yunyan said after holding on for a long time. Initially, when she saw that Bailey Hongzhuang's people had no intention of leaving, she forced herself not to leave. However, as the pain gradually intensified, she couldn't hold on any longer. The cultivators of the 100 Lane clan had all left by now. She was the only one left here. Hearing Bailey Yunyan's words, Di Xiaofeng nodded and said, "You can go down and rest well." "What about you?" Bailey Yunyan couldn't help but ask. "Beichen has no intention of leaving. As his elder brother, how can I leave?" Di Xiaofeng smiled warmly, "You don't have to worry. It's good for me to stay up here. If I really can't take it, I'll go down directly." Hearing this, Bailey Yunyan's eyes flashed with hesitation and said, "All right then. After you go down, go back to your room and rest. If there's nothing else, it's best if you don't come out. I'll look for you after I go down," Di Xiaofeng said. Chapter 4797. The Bailey family was originally a relatively weak existence among the many forces here. If they were targeted after going down, it would be troublesome. Therefore, the best choice was to stay in seclusion and cultivate in peace. Time gradually passed, and the number of cultivators on the deck became fewer and fewer. 3 days later, Di Beichen's gaze landed on a black figure. He had been paying attention to this person for a while. Almost everyone couldn't help but discuss at this moment. However, this person didn't care about the thoughts of others. He directly sat on the ground and started cultivating. It was obvious that he had already treated this place as a place to cultivate and had no intention of leaving. If his judgment was not wrong, this person should have decided to temper his body here after stepping on the deck. "Big brother, who is that?" Di Xiaofeng looked in the direction Di Beichen was pointing. After seeing the other party clearly, he said, "The person you are talking about is Madman from the Great Devil Sect." "Madman?" Di Beichen's eyes flashed with a trace of astonishment. Di Xiaofeng nodded slightly. "That's right. This person is called Qin Feng. He is a genius cultivator from the Great Devil Sect. His strength is extremely tyrannical. According to our judgment, he should be the strongest among all of us here." Hearing Di Xiaofeng's words, Bailey Hongzhuang couldn't help but open her eyes and see the person they were talking about. Qin Feng was wearing black clothes. His expression was grave and stern, and his whole body was emitting an aura that kept people away. "He is the strongest?" Bailey Hongzhuang was also somewhat astonished. She really didn't notice this person's existence before. However, now that she looked carefully, she also found that this person was not simple. That's right. He is completely a cultivation maniac. Once he starts cultivating, he looks like a madman. That's why everyone gave him a nickname, Madman. However, he is a relatively cold person. He generally doesn't like to interact with others. He spends almost all of his time on cultivation. He even feels that talking to others is a waste of time. Therefore, although he is the strongest and none of us dare to ignore him, he is too lazy to pay attention to ordinary things. As soon as these words came out, Di Beichen and Bailey Hongzhuang looked at each other. It turned out to be this kind of temperament, no wonder she was ignored. "Let's not talk about him. Di Xiaofeng's eyes fell on Bailey Hongzhuang and Bailey Hongzhuang. The way you two cultivate is quite abnormal. This is completely a masochistic way of cultivation. Previously, when he was in the Di family, Di Beichen had lamented that Di Beichen and Gu Shijiu were in closed-door training almost every day. It was a little exaggerated. However, now that he saw the two of them like this, he understood the situation of the two people's daily cultivation. Big brother, cultivating here is very helpful for tempering the body. Don't you think this is a good opportunity? Di Beichen asked with a smile. You're just looking for trouble here? Di Xiaofeng rolled his eyes. Look at how many people are still here. In his line of sight, other than them, there were less than 10 cultivators left on the deck. Big brother, if you don't like to cultivate here, you can directly go down. We have no problem here. Di Beichen chuckled. He naturally knew that Di Xiaofeng's usual cultivation method was not like this. If it wasn't for his face, Di Xiaofeng would have left long ago. Chapter 4798. Those guys haven't left yet, so how can I leave? Di Xiaofeng raised his eyebrows and quietly glanced at Jun Lingxuan and the others. Let me tell you, they must be very depressed right now. They usually don't suffer like this, but this time, they're angry with you, so they've been holding it in until now. They must be cursing you in their hearts. Di Xiaofeng's eyes were filled with a mischievous smile. The Di family and the Xiao family had always been very familiar. In the past, the Di family and the Xiao family had been friends for generations. As for the Jun family, because the two sides had always been opponents, they knew the Jun family's situation better than the Xiao family. Whether it was Jun Lingxuan or Xiao Souo, they were naturally cultivation geniuses. They usually cultivated very hard, but this kind of cultivation method was obviously not suitable for them. Hearing this, Di Beichen's lips curled up. They're willing to do this, so maybe it'll help them. When Di Xiaofeng noticed Jun Lingxuan and the others frowning, the smile in his eyes gradually deepened. If that's the case, then isn't it not worth it for us? Just as you said, if they didn't really want to stay here, then they definitely wouldn't have been able to last until the end. Di Beichen's expression was indifferent. He admitted that Jun Lingxuan and the others were cultivation geniuses, but these geniuses were still somewhat different compared to them, because they were more self-trained, while Jun Lingxuan and the others relied on their family's cultivation resources. Although this was the advantage of their family's heritage, it was also a flaw. For cultivators like them who relied on their own strength to reach their current level, their perseverance was definitely not something Jun Lingxuan and the others could compare to. He believed that the other party wouldn't last long. Looking at Di Beichen's confident appearance, Di Xiaofeng raised his eyebrows, obviously thinking about whether he was right or not. Xiao Sou's gaze fell on Bailey Hongzhuang. When she saw that Bailey Hongzhuang was cultivating with her eyes closed, she couldn't help but curse in her heart. I didn't expect this woman to be so patient. She hasn't left yet. In his line of sight, Bailey Hongzhuang's clothes had already been dyed red with blood. It was obvious that there were countless wounds on her body. In fact, her own situation was not much better than Bailey Hongzhuang's. Every second she stayed here made her feel extremely uncomfortable. However, Bailey Hongzhuang had not left yet. If she gave up just like that, it would be too embarrassing. Compared to the pain, she cared more about her reputation. Jun Lingxuan felt very helpless at this moment. Jun Zitao was originally staying with him, but he couldn't stand the torture and left. He also wanted to leave with Jun Zitao, but Xiao Souo was still here. If he left, he would lose face. 7 days was a complete torture for them. Almost everyone on the deck had left, leaving only the few of them here. He felt that it was normal for the madman of the Great Devil sect to stay here. After all, this person couldn't be judged by common sense. This kind of cultivation method should be normal for Qinfeng, but he didn't believe that Di Beichen and the others were the same as Qinfeng, all cultivation madmen. Chapter 4799. Even if they could hold on for one more second, it would still be a victory. As long as he gave up first, Di Beichen would have a reason to laugh at him. With this thought, Jun Lingxuan and the others continued to persevere. But another day passed. Di Baichen and Bailey Hongzhuang were still the same as before. They did not have the slightest intention to leave. Baichen. Xiren looked at Di Baichen. Yingying's body is a little weak. Her injuries are too serious now. She can't take it anymore. I'll take her to rest first. Xiren naturally did not care about this kind of pain. Although his talent was not as good as Di Baichen's, he had been training with Di Baichen since he was young. His perseverance was definitely not weak. It was just that Shangguan Yingying had always stayed in the sect to cultivate. She rarely went through such training. Since going to Penglai Island, Shangguan Yingying had become much stronger than before. Her endurance had also greatly improved. However, there was still a gap. He understood that Shangguan Yingying had been holding on bitterly and was unwilling to give up. However, her body that was on the verge of collapse revealed that she had already persevered to the limit. Di Baichen also noticed this situation. He quickly said, "Take Yingying to rest. It's good to cultivate below. Hongzhuang's healing medicine is very effective. Remember to apply it to Yingying." Seeing that Xiren was about to take her away, Shangguan Yingying could not help but say, "I can still hold on." "You're already like this. What are you still holding on for?" Xiren looked at Shangguan Yingying with heartache. He did not care about himself. However, seeing Yingying suffer like this, he really felt distressed. On one hand, he hoped that Yingying's strength could be improved and improve her ability to protect herself. On the other hand, he hoped that his strength could improve. As long as he could protect her, so what if Yingying's strength was weak? But everyone is still holding on. I don't want to give up like this. Shangguan Yingying's eyes were slightly red. In this team, her strength was undoubtedly the weakest. She knew this very well and hoped that she could keep up with everyone's pace. At this moment, Bailey Hongzhuang said, "Yingying, everyone has different cultivation methods. What suits us may not suit you. You didn't have any foundation in body refinement before, so it is indeed very difficult for you to endure here. If you stay here for too long, it will cause irreversible damage to your body." Previously, she did not expect Shangguan Yingying to be able to hold on for so long. Other than the few people who were competing with each other, the rest of the cultivators present had already left. However, she felt that since Yingying was willing to persevere, she would let her persevere for a while longer. She could leave once she couldn't take it anymore. Ao Lingxiao couldn't help but say, "I'll go down as well. This kind of body tempering is too abnormal. Without a solid foundation, it will be hard to endure." Ever since he met Di Baichen and the others, he realized that Di Baichen, Bailey Hongzhuang, and Mo Yunjue were all really abnormal. Cultivation was completely masochistic. During this period of time, he had been cultivating very hard. However, when facing Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, he really could not say that he was hardworking. "You all go down first. Have a good rest," Bailey Hongzhuang said with a smile. In fact, she and Di Baichen both felt that the environment here was very suitable for their own cultivation. They did not request for everyone to stay here. Chapter 4800. Shangguan Yingying, who was originally unwilling to give up, felt a little better when she saw Ao Lingxiao preparing to leave. "Yingying, we will go down first. When your condition improves, if you still want to come up, we will come up again," Xiren said with a smile. Seeing this, Shangguan Yingying nodded. "All right then. Yunjue, do you want to go down with us?" Ao Lingxiao asked. Mo Yunjue shook his head. "You guys go down. I think the environment here is quite suitable for me." Seeing this, Ao Lingxiao and the others looked at each other. Sure enough, it was as they thought. Bailey Hongzhuang and Di Baichen couldn't help but chuckle. Mo Yunjue was the young master of Shitian Tower. The cultivators there were notoriously cruel. Although Mo Yunjue was the young master, according to their judgment, Mo Yunjue would not suffer less than other cultivators. On the contrary, he would suffer more. This situation was obviously not a problem for Mo Yunjue. If not, Mo Yunjue's cultivation speed would not be so fast. When Xiao Sou and the others saw that Shangguan Yingying and the others wanted to leave, they were overjoyed. After enduring for so long, they could finally be liberated. However, when they saw that Bewitching and the others had no intention of leaving, they couldn't help but curse in their hearts. Another day passed. Xiao Soa felt that her body was no longer hers. Her body was already covered in wounds. If it wasn't for her anger, she would have collapsed. When Xiao Sudong walked to the deck and saw this scene, he couldn't help but say, "Big sister, are you still going to stay here? It has been so many days. Your injuries are so serious. What are you doing here?" Xiao Sudong couldn't hold on for 2 days. Although he wanted to compete with Bailey Hongzhuang and the others, he finally decided to leave first. Even if he lost some face, at least he wouldn't feel so bad. He originally thought that after he went down, Xiao Soa would come down with him soon. He didn't expect that his injuries had already healed, but Xiao Soa still hadn't come down. He couldn't help but come up to take a look. He had never seen his sister in such a miserable state. It was as if she had just been fished out of a pool of blood. If he continued to stay here, wouldn't all the flesh on his body be shaved off? "Sudong, you're here." Xiao Soa couldn't hold on any longer. After hearing Xiao Sudong's words, she was even more eager to leave. Xiao Sudong walked to Xiao Soa's side. "Big sister, let's go. Don't continue to compete with them here." Xiao Soa shook her head. As long as Bailey Hongzhuang didn't leave, she would never leave. After Jun Lingxuan saw Xiao Sudong's ruddy complexion, a trace of envy appeared in his eyes. As the children of aristocratic families, they had always been treated very well. They must have lived very comfortably below the deck. Staying here was completely miserable. After struggling for a long time, Jun Lingxuan said, "Miss Xiao, why don't we all go down? Are you also going to leave?" Xiao Soa looked at Jun Lingxuan in surprise. She thought that Jun Lingxuan would also persist to the end. Chapter 4801. Although he wanted to take advantage of this opportunity to win against Bewitching, it was obvious that Bewitching's endurance was very terrifying. If he continued to endure like this, he was worried that he wouldn't be able to hold on. If he couldn't hold on and fainted, wouldn't that be even more embarrassing? If we want to win against them, we have plenty of opportunities. We don't have to insist on this kind of thing. Jun Lingxuan said. It was obviously not a wise move to compete with the other party's advantage with their own weakness. The most important thing was that he found that Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two's faces had gradually begun to recover from their initial pale state. Their mental state was not the slightest bit sluggish, which was obviously different from how they forced themselves to hold on. If his judgment was correct, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two had gradually adapted to the strength of the wind blades on the deck. Although this discovery made him feel incredulous, he still had to admit that it was true. What's more, he found that he obviously couldn't adapt to all this in a short time. If this continued, it would only continue to widen the gap between the two sides. Since he couldn't win against them, he might as well give up. It was more powerful to leave now. Listening to Jun Lingxuan's words, Xiao Soa's eyes flashed a trace of hesitation. She, who originally wanted to leave, was even more shaken at this moment. Previously, even if she wanted to leave, she couldn't find a reason. Now, Jun Lingxuan's departure had given her a way out. If she didn't leave now, then she really couldn't find a reason to leave in the future. "You're right, there's nothing to show on this deck. Let's leave together," Xiao Soa said. Hearing this, Jun Lingxuan's eyes flashed with a trace of joy. "Okay, let's leave together." After Xiao Sudong heard this, he also let out a sigh of relief. He was really worried that if Xiao Soa continued to stay here, she might lose her life. After staying on the deck for so many days, whether it was Xiao Soa or Jun Lingxuan, they had no strength in their bodies. At this moment, they stood up rashly and almost fell down. Fortunately, Xiao Sudong was right beside them. He hurriedly supported the two of them and asked, "Big sister, are you all right?" Bailey Hongzhuang's cold gaze fell on Xiao Soa and Yizichen. As expected, they left in the end. Xiao Soa naturally noticed Bailey Hongzhuang's gaze, and a trace of embarrassment flashed in her eyes. She immediately averted her gaze and pretended not to see it. Nangong Yuqing had been on the deck the whole time. When he saw Jun Lingxuan leaving with Xiao Soa, he didn't continue to stay there. After all, his main target was Xiao Soa. Jun Lingxuan was also his competitor. He couldn't let Jun Lingxuan have the chance to be with Xiao So. After Jun Lingxuan and the other two left, only Di Beichen, Bailey Hongzhuang, Mo Yunjue, and the great devil sex Chen Feng were left on the deck. The four of them had their eyes closed and were peacefully cultivating and tempering their bodies. The deck was abnormally quiet. Bailey Hongzhuang felt that although the injuries on her body were very serious, they were gradually healing. Not only that, but she could also feel that her body was constantly strengthening in this state of continuous healing and injury. This was progress. Chen Feng had been cultivating with his eyes closed, but he still had some understanding of the situation on the deck. Chapter 4802. According to Chen Feng's judgment, the reason Bailey Hongzhuang's group was here was to defeat Xiao Sou's group. Since Xiao Sou's group had already left, there was naturally no need for them to continue staying here. However, half a month had already passed, and Bailey Hongzhuang's group still had no intention of leaving. This proved that from the beginning to the end, Bailey Hongzhuang's group's goal was only to cultivate here and not to defeat their opponents. Seeing Chen Feng suddenly take the initiative to talk to them, Bailey Hongzhuang's group was astonished. According to Di Xiaofeng's introduction, it was almost impossible for Chen Feng to take the initiative to talk to others. This is a good opportunity. Don't you think so too? Di Beichen's lips curled up in a faint smile. He knew that Chen Feng was an extremely pure person. He had no intention of showing off by staying here. All of them believed that this place was suitable for cultivating their bodies. Hearing this, Chen Feng nodded. You're right. This is indeed a good place to cultivate. It's just that those guys don't understand. I originally thought that I was the only one who would stay here. Di Beichen smiled and said, So, we're disturbing your peace? Chen Feng raised his eyebrows. Anyone can come here. This is not my private property. If you guys want to stay, it's your business. After saying that, Chen Feng did not say anything else. He closed his eyes again and started cultivating, as if nothing had happened. Seeing this, Bailey Hongzhuang's group looked at each other. It seemed like Di Xiaofeng's introduction was not wrong. This Chen Feng's character was indeed somewhat weird. Mo Yunjue, who had been silent all this while, suddenly said, Actually, people with this kind of character are quite good. With this kind of character, they are usually upright gentlemen. Bailey Hongzhuang nodded slightly. You're right. With his character, I'm afraid he won't even bother to participate in some shady business. Perhaps it's precisely because of his character that he can become the number one existence. Di Beichen's eyes were filled with wisdom. Anyone who wanted to be number one had to have no distracting thoughts. This was the fastest way to improve. Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two did not delay any longer and continued to cultivate. They believed that if they stayed here for 3 months, the improvement of their physical bodies would be very obvious. In the blink of an eye, a month had passed. As time went by, the physical strength of the three of them improved significantly. The wind blades scraped across their bodies, and the pain they felt was much less than before. Suddenly, several figures appeared on the deck. Beichen, Hongzhuang, something happened. When Xiren's voice rang out. Hearing this, Bailey Hongzhuang and the other two opened their eyes. They looked at Xiren in confusion and asked, What happened? Ao Ling Xiao and the Ao clan are fighting. What? Bailey Hongzhuang frowned. You guys have been down there for such a long time. Why are you guys suddenly fighting today? When Zi explained, After we returned, we have been peacefully cultivating and healing our injuries. After recovering from our injuries, we prepared to come to the deck to cultivate with you guys. However, Ao Ling Xiao bumped into the Ao clan's team on the way here. His elder brother was obviously among them. So, they naturally got into trouble, when Xian explained. What's the situation now? You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.